Recently, I came across an article discussing the term virgin speculum and extra small speculum used for cervical smear tests. The article argued that the term is sexist and problematic. Feminists often take issue with the concept of virginity. In this video, I'm going to explore the history of female virginity, why it has historically mattered, and how we should think about it today. This video also includes my personal experience of losing my virginity, which involves sexual trauma, so please be aware of that. My name is Zarina Matcha, and you're watching The Rational Female. If you enjoy my content, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel. The feminist narrative suggests that women have historically been sexually suppressed and at the mercy of male desire. Evolutionary psychology presents a different picture. In most species, including humans, females are the sexual selectors. Men have higher sex drives than women, which gives women leverage in sexual dynamics. Denying sex, such as in the play Lysistrata, is a clear example of how women can exert power. Waiting until marriage historically increased a woman's bargaining power and ensured commitment. This dynamic has been discussed by writers like Esther Villa in The Manipulated Man. It also shapes social structures. Women are hypergamous. We seek mates of equal or higher status due to evolutionary needs for provision and protection. Historically, men without status often lacked access to marriage and sex. Prostitution emerged in part because male sexual demand exceeded female supply. Before DNA testing, paternity mattered. Men were more willing to invest resources in children they believed were biologically theirs. Marrying a virgin reduced uncertainty and protected lineage. At the same time, women still chose which men to accept. Families vetted suitors. Men had to prove themselves through strength, status, or provision, while women were expected to offer chastity, fertility, and domesticity. Both sexes brought something to the table. In ancient cultures like Egypt, Greece, and Rome, virgin goddesses symbolized autonomy and power. Vestal virgins in Rome embodied civic purity. Nuns later represented spiritual devotion through chastity. Virginity was often associated with self-control, family honor, and social stability. Christianity reinforced virginity as moral virtue, creating shame around promiscuity. But religious systems imposed moral standards on both sexes. In most religions, both men and women are expected to uphold God's will. It's also worth remembering that people married much younger in ancient and medieval societies, often as teenagers, so waiting until marriage did not mean celibacy into one's late 20s. Since the sexual revolution, virginity has been reframed as a social construct with little inherent value. Yet historically, women enforced its importance. For example, in the TV show Jane the Virgin, Jane's grandmother tells Jane that her virginity is something she must protect. An even more extreme example is Carrie White's mother, who goes as far to call her daughter's breasts dirty pillows. This takes religious fundamentalism to the extreme, but the point here is that women are the ones pushing these standards. It's not all because of men. Female intrasexual competition plays a role here. Women use sexuality as a way to compete with other women and shame women who are promiscuous. This is also why female sexual purity was so historically enforced. It's not about patriarchy, it's more about female-on-female competitiveness and the other reasons mentioned earlier. It's common for women who experience sexual trauma to later struggle with sexual boundaries or promiscuity. I've spoken about how I lost my virginity in a longer, older video, which you can watch in the cards, but I'll briefly share my experience here in a more condensed way. When I was 18, I became involved with a dysfunctional partner. Within a few weeks, I decided I was ready for sex. The situation escalated quickly. One moment we were fully clothed, the next we were not, and he was entering me. It was the worst pain of my life. I screamed and he told me to be quiet and to stop making it harder for him. His exact words were, "You're not making my job any easier." He did come out of me and then he tried to, make things easier. And he decided to go again. And once again, it was very, very painful. He decided to just continue going, even though I was yelling in distress, and then he put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling and lifted up my leg and tried to go in deeper. I ended up pushing him off me because it was so painful. There was significant bleeding, and I went to the doctor days later because I was still in pain. We attempted sex again a week later. He was very frustrated, and I felt so insecure and very ashamed. He was very dismissive, and he said that he would leave me if we didn't have sex. I was so afraid to lose him that I forced myself to just go through with it, and we did end up doing it properly. And even then, he still got really annoyed with me for making noise and for reacting to the pain. Since that relationship, I became very promiscuous throughout my 20s. None of these experiences were like my first. I did find casual sex very enjoyable, a lot like smoking weed. I was chasing a high, and I became very emotionally detached during my sexual experiences. For years, sex felt like recreation, not intimacy. Most of my experiences felt like some recreational act, not actual real connection. I have recently come to see that emotional detachment is unhealthy, and I don't think that promiscuity is good for anyone, male or female. I've had 2 serious relationships, but I lost interest in both men after a few months. I don't know if I will ever get married, and I'm not that fussed about having children, but I would like to have a stable partnership one day. My discomfort with the concept of virginity is tied to my first sexual experience. Trauma can distort how we process sex and intimacy. Emotional disconnection becomes a coping mechanism. In modern society, there is no logical reason to tie a woman's worth to her sexual history. However, preferences still exist. Many men prefer long-term partners with fewer sexual partners. Studies suggest that higher partner counts correlate with increased marital dissatisfaction for women, although the effect is less consistent for men. Male and female sexuality differ. Women are more likely to associate sex with emotional connection and security. Casual encounters often involve alcohol and regret for women based on self-report data. Men, on average, find it easier to separate sex from emotional detachment. If gender were purely a social construct, we would expect men and women to experience sexuality in identical ways. Yet we don't. Hormones, reproductive roles, and evolution shapes behavior. Modern dating coaches teach women how to secure a husband, not how to sleep around. I have never seen a female dating coach who says how to have sex with a different man every week. Yet male dating coaches teach men how to get laid. In other words, female dating advice focuses on securing commitment, while male dating advice focuses on increasing sexual access. No matter how much left-wing zealots protest, gender is a biological reality. Men and women are different, and modern dating culture reflects this. Saying otherwise is like claiming that the Earth has been around for 6,000 years. Historically, male virginity was not prized in the same way as female virginity because male status was measured through provision, strength, and protection. Female virginity ensured paternity and delayed gratification. Men and women were valued for different traits. Biology also influences attraction patterns. Men prioritize youth and chastity, while women prioritize status and competence. Now, personally, I don't agree with any of this. I think the concept of virginity is shallow and unnecessary in a modern context. I don't think men should care too much about a woman's past, just like I don't think women should obsess over how tall a man is. But that's my personal opinion. Evolutionary psychology explains why these preferences exist. Whether someone values virginity or not is a personal decision. If I were to get married, I would not want to be with someone who resented my past. That would be pointless. In today's culture, multiple partners are common. That doesn't make it healthy, but it's reality. I don't regret my past sexual experiences at all. However, I do believe that sex is better within a stable, loving relationship. Research consistently shows that committed couples report higher sexual satisfaction. Modern discourse tends to swing between extremes: total sexual permissiveness or strict moral condemnation. Neither is balanced. We need a framework that recognizes biological differences, avoids shame, and encourages self-respect and accountability. Value comes from character, not a number, be it high or low. At the same time, pretending that biology plays no role in sexual behavior is intellectually dishonest. A healthy view of sexuality requires nuance, responsibility, and honesty about human nature.